It's no secret that Kendrick has been on one of the best runs in hip-hop ever. The first part of 2024 was relatively quiet, but then Like That dropped. And this completely shook everything up. Everyone knows what happens from there. J. Cole dropped his diss, took it back, Drake dropped his response, then another AI diss track, Kendrick finally responded with his own full dedicated track, and like Drake, dropped another back-to-back. Then on May 3rd, one of the most insane days in hip-hop started around 11 p.m. when Drake dropped his 7-minute diss track, Family Matters, only to be outshined by the creepy, ominous response from Kendrick an hour later, Meet the Grams. And in the morning, the final blow, Not Like Us, which pretty much crowned Kendrick as the winner. With his victory came Kendrick's victory lap. First was the pop-out show in June, featuring LA's biggest stars. Then it was the Not Like Us music video in July. And finally, the Super Bowl halftime show announcement in September. Yay! I mean, Kendrick's Twitter feed alone in those months needs to be printed out and displayed in a museum somewhere. It's a perfect visual representation of the insane year he's had. But in the chaos of all this noise and excitement, there was something that flew under the radar for most people. People talked about it for a second, but then quickly moved on. Except for me. I was still genuinely confused by it, and it's something I want to talk about in this video. It started all the way back in the middle of the Drake and Kendrick beef.
Kendrick Lamar finally responded.
It's the back-to-back track that Kendrick uploaded onto his Instagram, 616 in LA. And more specifically, it's in the credits of the song. Under producers, first we see Sounwave, which if you don't know Sounwave, he's been Kendrick's go-to producer since the early days of Kendrick, or at that time known as K-Dot. The first track Sounwave produced was Young and Black off K-Dot's mixtape C4 back in 2009.
Sounwave. I feel we.
He also produced some of Kendrick's biggest hits like ADHD, Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe, Alright, and most recently, Not Like Us. Well, the other producer here is someone that Kendrick had never worked with before, but is very popular. So much so that he's won the past 3 Producer of the Year Grammy Awards, beating out others like Metro Boomin, Hit Boy, and Boy Wonder. However, Sounwave has been working with this producer since 2017. That was the year when he first reached out to Sounwave to see if he'd be down to produce some tracks from his group's upcoming album. That guy is Jack Antonoff. Maybe you've heard of Jack Antonoff, maybe you haven't. If you haven't, he's arguably the biggest producer in music right now, as seen with his three-peat of Producer of the Year awards at the Grammys. Everything he touches becomes a hit, but how did he get so popular? Simple, Taylor Swift. The two met back in 2012, and the following year, Jack produced his first song for Swift. Since then, Jack has been Taylor's go-to producer for every one of her albums, handling more than half the production on each one of her subsequent albums.
It's a wake up.
Because that it previews the sass of
Along with Swift, Jack has produced for some of the biggest names in music. Lana Del Rey, Olivia Rodrigo, Clairo, and Florence and the Machine, to name a few. So pretty much when an artist wants a hit album, the guy they call up is Jack Antonoff.
Definitely forget everything that's come before, because all it can do is weigh you down. It's almost like the more we do, the less I expected. I often think to myself, well, how much longer could we really keep having this spark?
Moving away from pop stars and going back to Kendrick Lamar's second diss track, 616 in LA, when it first released and people saw Jack Antonoff as one of the producers, they were confused. What was a pop star producer doing on a Kendrick Lamar track? Well, on Drake's AI diss track, Tailor Made Freestyle, he says,
"But now we gotta wait a fucking week, cause Taylor Swift is your new top, and if you about to drop, she gotta approve this girl."
Oh, Drake saying Kendrick didn't want to respond yet because Taylor Swift's album was releasing and he didn't want to be outshined by that. Okay, so him having Jack Antonoff as a co-producer was Kendrick just trolling Drake. Okay, that makes sense now. Well, then Kendrick dropped GNX, and every song on there except one was produced by Jack Antonoff. So what the hell? Jack Antonoff and Kendrick are actually working together regularly? This isn't just a one-time troll move at Drake? Yep. You know who else produced GNX? Sounwave. He was credited with production on every single song.
That's what I heard. So I actually heard that this is actually how you guys make the music in the studio.
In a way, it's an interpretation of that, and we wanted the album to the idea that
Sounwave and Jack are good friends. After Sounwave produced for his group in 2017, the two formed a group themselves along with the singer Sam Dew, who, side note, is also credited for vocals on a ton of GNX tracks. Sounwave was even brought on to produce a track for Taylor Swift's 2019 album Lover, and then 3 tracks on her 2022 album Midnights. Coincidentally, Jack handled all production on both these albums, so it makes sense he brought on his buddy Sounwave to help him.
I get to work with one of my best friends, who is not only one of my best friends, but also a once-in-a-generation producer. That's Jack Antonoff. I'm so lucky. I want to say thank you to Serban Gania, Sam Dew, Sounwave.
So now it seems like Sounwave is paying Jack back by bringing him into the world of Kendrick Lamar. When GNX dropped out of nowhere, it was a huge surprise. But what's equally surprising is Jack returning as a producer for Kendrick on all but one song from GNX. So I guess 616 in LA wasn't just a troll by Kendrick, but a legitimate partnership between Kendrick, Jack, and Sounwave. It's crazy to think that Jack Antonoff can go from producing music like this to producing music like this.
Pickable, put 2 foreigns on a 4-5. Pickable, catchy pepper if I'm doing pasta.
It really shows the range of his production capabilities, especially given the distinct West Coast sound of GNX. The beats on Kendrick's latest album are super unique and was definitely a topic of conversation surrounding its release. On top of that, Jack's magic was in full effect here. GNX sold 319,000 units its first week. Impressive given it dropped out of nowhere with no promotion whatsoever. Comparing this to Kendrick's album before that, Mr. Morale sold 295,000 units. GNX also had the 4th biggest first week debut of all 2024 projects. The first being The Tortured Poets Department, produced by Jack Antonoff, second being Cowboy Carter, and third being Short and Sweet, surprise surprise, also produced by Jack Antonoff. Obviously numbers don't make an album good or bad, but Jack is known to pull some huge numbers for any album he produces, and that includes Kendrick's. Okay, now with 2024 behind us and heading into 2025, things are looking scary for Kendrick Lamar. And I say scary in terms of how Kendrick could have an even bigger year in 2025. With the Super Bowl coming up in February and Jack Antonoff at his side, Kendrick could make a huge mark. There's already rumors circulating that GNX was simply a mixtape and a fully flushed out album is set to release in 2025. And honestly, I can believe it. It feels like after Kendrick took down Drake in the rap beef, he's been at the height of his career and is transitioning out of the rap world and into the mainstream music world. I mean, he just won Billboard's top pop star of 2024, beating out Sabrina Carpenter, Taylor Swift, Chappell Roan, and Charli XCX. And I'm not saying he's abandoning his realness or anything, I'm just saying that his name has become bigger than it ever has before. Coupling this with Jack Antonoff as his right-hand producer, the ceiling is very, very high for Kendrick in terms of his popularity. Who knows, maybe we'll even see a Taylor Swift feature on his next album. I mean, if anyone can make a Taylor Swift feature sound good on a rap song, it'd be Kendrick. It'll be interesting to see how Kendrick moves this year given everything that happened in 2024. I'm very excited. I'd love to hear what you think as well, so please let me know in the comments below. And if you don't already, please subscribe to our channel to get more videos like this. You're the best. Thanks for watching.